Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Digital Marketing Podcast. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome back. In this episode, we are talking about demystifying SEO for your website. What is SEO? Most likely you probably know, but it stands for Search Engine Optimization. In this episode, what we're going to go over, basically we're going to start with what is SEO and how do search engines even work? And then we're going to talk about local SEO versus organic SEO. We're going to go over some of the top ranking factors on like what Google is looking for. And then we're going to go over some simple tips that you can start using to start improving your SEO. Before you get into the world of SEO, I will say that it's not an overnight game, right? You need to have some patience and give things a chance because it takes a minute for what you do to actually show up. Once you understand how search engines work, this might make more sense. So let's jump into that. So basically your search engines, and I'm going to just use Google, they all pretty much work the same. So what's going to happen is you have a website. On that website, you have multiple pages. So Google is going to look at your website as a whole, but it's going to what we call index your pages individually. So what happens is the search engine robots, or they call them spiders, go out and crawl the web and look for all of the websites out there. And then what they'll do is they'll get to your website and they're going to start looking at the different pages of your site. And it's going to basically crawl your site and it's going to index that page at that moment in time. It's going to take a snapshot, if you will, a picture of this web page and say, okay, this web page, we're going to go ahead and index this into our database. So Google's database is going to save it and it's going to have it in its database. When it indexes your site or your page, it looks at certain things. Actually, it looks at a ton of things. It looks at the URL. It looks at the title. It looks at it when we'll get into the different factors that it all looks at. But basically, it's going to look at all of these different things and it's going to make an assumption that this is what this page is about. And we're going to go ahead and log that and we're going to save this snapshot into our system. And it's not necessarily saving your actual web page. So when someone visits it off of Google, it's not loading their saved page. It's just loading the results that they found. So certain things like it's going to save off the title and the meta description and the things that you see. And obviously some other things it's going to save in its own database so it can rank this page. So now what happens is Google has gone and crawled all of these pages and then it'll come back and it'll rescan your page. So on a frequency of maybe every other day or maybe it's every other month, whenever it happens to find it, it's going to come back and it's going to re-index your page. So now it has this page indexed. It thinks it knows what it's about. It's going to give it a ranking factor. So now what happens when a user goes to Google and types in a search, now Google is going to say, okay, here's this person's search. We're going to take this keyword phrase or this search phrase that they just gave us, and we're going to find in our database that we've indexed what are the most likely results that they're looking for. This is going to be what they call the SERP, the Search Engine Results page. This is what you're trying to rank on higher, right? You want to be on the first page of Google. Well, that's what this is on the SERP page. The results page, when someone does a search for this keyword, you're trying to show up higher. Google is going to take all of these ranking factors when it indexed your page, and then it's going to look at all of the other millions of pages it's indexed, and it's going to sort them in an order of relevance to that person that's doing the search. It's going to look at the person's location. It's going to look at what the person searched. It's going to look at even personal data of that person, and it's going to give them what it thinks is the most relevant results. That is how search engines work. And then the process just repeats and it repeats. When you're doing SEO on your website, what you're doing is you're trying to tell Google or the search engine robots, you're trying to tell it more of what your page is about and give it the ranking factors and the relevancy it needs to show your page to the right person and get higher results. That is how search engines work. Okay, so now there are a couple different sectors of SEO. I just made that up. If it's called sectors, I don't know, but we'll just call them sectors for right now. Basically, you have your local SEO and you have just your regular organic results SEO, right? So when you Google something like, auto mechanics, well, if you do that, you'll see it's going to give you local results first. So if you Google content marketing, it's not going to probably give you local results because it's not a local type of search. But if you do, auto mechanic near me, it's going to say, hey, okay, this person's located over here. We're going to give them local results because we know they're searching for something local, a local business. And what that does is it actually puts up the local results first. And those are what they call the 3-pack. And basically what the 3-pack is the map section of the search results. So in that search result page, you're going to have the ads, then you're going to have the top 3, the map, local results, and then you're going to have your typical organic results. So there are a couple different ways to approach SEO. One is just your regular organic stuff. The other is local. So if you are a local business, this is definitely something you want to focus on. And we're going to talk about steps that you can take to get better local results. And what I would say, if you're a local business, you're most likely going to benefit more from local SEO than you would organic SEO. And it's all organic. It's just regular and local. So it's definitely, if you're a local business, you definitely want to pay attention to the local SEO. And that might be where you spend your time and energy. All right, so let's talk about the top ranking factors. Like, what are the things that the search engines are looking for when they're going to rank your pages? One of the first things is it's going to look for domain authority. Now, this is not a complete list, I'm going to tell you. Obviously people know what the complete list is, but the general public doesn't necessarily know. Google's has a million different things that it looks at. It looks at social signals, it looks at like just a million different things. So there's no way we could possibly cover all of that, but these are some of the top ones. And really, these are the ones that are things that you can really make a change to fairly easily and actually move the needle and get some results. So that's why we're covering these. So they're things that you can take action on. However, domain authority, the very first one on the list, a little harder to actually take action on this one because what it looks for is the age of your domain. It also looks for how many what we call backlinks. So how many links are linking to your site. So that gives you domain authority. It also looks at things like, how long people are staying on your pages, and that's known as the bounce rate. So if someone hits your page and just leaves right away, then that's called the bounce. They didn't stay there long enough. So it takes all of those factors and probably many more into account. But domain authority is one. That is one factor. The other one is what we classify as this next set is on-site SEO factors, things that are on your site, because there's things that you can do on your site and there's things that you can do off your site. So the on-site SEO ranking factors is one, your URL. So like your URL structure, the content that's in your URL. When we think of content and we think of things when it comes to search engines, it all revolves around keywords. It's really driven by keywords because Google is a search engine driven by keyword searches. Keywords can be one word, it can be a sentence. It's most likely a phrase that someone's searching that is looking for a result. So we're thinking of these keywords when we're thinking of these factors. Okay, so my URL. Are there keywords in my URL? It's going to look at that. It's going to look at the metadata, and the metadata on a web page is the title tag and the meta description. When you Google something and it gives you a result, that top blue bolded part is your title, and the little paragraph underneath it is the description. And what else do you see in Google? Your URL. It's looking at all three of these things and aligning them together and saying, okay, what this person is searching for, does a keyword land in the URL, the title and the description? If so, it's highly relevant to what this person is searching. So having your keyword in these areas is really important and can really move the needle for you. So, all right, and we'll get into some extra stuff, action items that you can take moving forward. Right now, we're just kind of talking about what the ranking factors are. The other part is the body of your page. In basically the content, what it's going to look for is it's going to scan and it's going to read the content on your page. And it's going to look at your titles that are on your page, like your headers, meaning like if you have a paragraph and above it you have a title, or the very first title on your site. So maybe it's Phoenix Web Design might be on one of our pages, right? So that's our title. That's what the page is about. So those are headers. We'll refer to them as like headings, H1s, H2s. That's the HTML version of it, but headers. Then it's also going to look at the body content, and it's also going to look at images and content in the images and the image file name. So it's going to look at everything it can to try to decipher what this page is about. And again, in all of this, it's looking for keywords. Some other elements it's looking for is the loading speed. So how fast does this page load? Because it's going to serve the results to people that are going to get the best experience. So if your page takes a really long time to load and somebody else's page is really fast, it's going to definitely show the faster page before it shows the slower page. Guaranteed. It's also going to show mobile friendly sites before non-mobile friendly sites. So if your site isn't mobile friendly, that's a problem. It's going to rank sites that load under an SSL certificate. So HTTPS. So it's going to prioritize those in its results. So there's a ton more of on-site stuff, but that is probably the bigger key things. And then there is the off-site SEO. And really that comes down to what we see as like backlinks. So things linking to your site, right? Let's go over some simple tips to improving your SEO. So first we're going to go over the on-site stuff. Before you go into your website and start making all of these changes to improve it, you really want to do a little bit of research on the keywords, right? So you want to know if you're going to go changing your title tags and your meta descriptions and the headings on your pages so it has the right keywords. Well, you probably want to know what the right keywords are. So start there. Some tools to help you get started with keyword research is Google's Keyword Planner, and I'll leave links to these in the show notes. There is a Chrome extension called Keyword Surfer. Again, link in show notes. These are going to allow you to go and get some. So Keyword Surfer, this Chrome extension, you can put in a search and it's going to give you some relevant keyword. That's going to give you some data on these keywords. So what you want to find in keywords is ultimately you want to find a high search rate, like a volume of searches for this keyword, and a low to medium level of competition. The most obvious ones and the ones you're going to want are most likely going to be the high search volume and high competition. So don't just ignore those, but if you can find opportunities where there's a high search volume and a medium to low competition, by all means, make sure you note that one so you can use it. Another place to find some keywords or to do some keyword research is to use a tool called SEMrush. And this is going to allow you to look at your competition and see what keywords they're using. So what I would say when you think of your competition, it's not necessarily your next door neighbor or the person that you think is your competition in your industry always. When you're thinking about SEO, it's who are you competing with in that search result. So if you're saying, okay, we want to rank for this keyword, you want to actually search that keyword and see who else is ranking for it. That's your competition when it comes to SEO. It's not necessarily who you think is your competition, because maybe that person, that business down the road that's like yours, isn't even on the search engines yet. Maybe they're not even ranking. So there's no sense in trying to compete with them because they're not even your competition on the search engines, right? Maybe they're ranking for some other keywords or something. You want to figure out what keywords you want to rank for, search them, see who's ranking for those keywords, and that's your search engine competition. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take those keywords. Now you're going to go to your site and you're going to start looking at your pages, and you're going to see where are there opportunities where we can use these keywords. A lot of times your homepage is going to be the main page, right? But when it comes to search engines, you can really optimize your like location pages or your service pages to be a main entry point into your search engine traffic and results. So you can optimize these other interior pages with the right keywords and really get results. So what you're going to do is you're going to take these keywords that you found and you're going to figure out what pages might be best to put them on. And you're going to start, what you're going to do is you're going to go in and you're going to put them in your title tag and your description tag. If you're in WordPress, then you need to install the Yoast SEO plugin, and this is going to be a tool that's going to allow you to edit the title and descriptions. If you're on Shopify, they have a tool where you can edit the SEO for your page and you can change the title and description. This is where you want to change it and have in your keywords. If you can put your keywords in the beginning, that's better. And then you want to go through your body content, and what you want to start with is look at your headings. You want to make sure that you have one H1 tag, so one H1 heading. And if you look in the HTML or you run it through a headings checker or a page checker, it'll tell you how many H1 tags you have. One page should only have one H1 tag, and in that H1 tag should be your main keyword. And then you would have H2 tags, and then under that H3 tags. So that's just typical on-site page SEO stuff. In these tags, you want to have your keywords and variations of your keywords. Also in your body content, you want to have them in your body, your paragraph content, and make sure you have your keywords in there. Also, images, if you are able to update your images with alt text, each image should have alt text. In WordPress, it gives you the ability to change the alt text or add alt text to your images. Do so and add your keywords in there. So that is really getting your keyword into your pages. So that is your on-site, stuff that you can do right away to start improving where your rankings. And you're going to really start to notice a difference. If you're not doing any of this yet and you start doing this on your pages, you're going to start noticing a difference. I guarantee within 30 days, you'll start increasing your rankings 100%. But the trick is to do what I just said naturally. When you add keywords into these sentences and into these phrases and headings and titles and descriptions, you have to do it in a natural written way. Don't think you're going to outsmart the Google robots or anything like that. You can actually hurt your rankings if you do what they call keyword stuffing and just try to stuff a bunch of keywords and it's not natural and you're just trying to put the same keyword in to a sentence multiple times. Don't do it. Just make it natural. If you don't feel like you have enough keywords in there, you can always write more content, but it needs to sound natural and in flow, and write it for a human, not for a robot. It's tempting to do it the other way because you're trying to get that keyword in there, but it's not going to work. Google's smarter than that. Okay, so let's move on to some off-site stuff that you can do that will help get some more domain authority and get you some better results. So when it comes to offsite stuff, we're really talking about a backlinking strategy. So a lot of this is a really time-consuming part of SEO, and it might be one where you hire out for, but what it is it's a lot of reaching out to people for opportunities. What I mean is let's say you have a post that mentions somebody or another business or something. So maybe it's, letting them know that you've mentioned them in your post and seeing if they will link from their website back to your blog post. So it's basically getting them to link to your content because you're talking about them. That's a great approach. Another one is if you can find articles out there that are already written about your topic, reach out to the author and see if they will add your link to your content into their post, because a lot of people are going to write about a topic and link to some content to back that up or as an example. Well, maybe your example is better than the example they're linking to. Naturally, the author is going to want to link to the best content available, so it would make sense that they might update this link. The problem is there's no way to do this without just manual reaching out. So it's a timely process, and it takes time, but it'll help you get results. The other thing that you can do is fix your loading speed of your pages. So number one, first thing is install a caching plugin if you're using WordPress. If you're using WordPress, I recommend WP Rocket for the caching plugin. There are some free ones as well. Once you install them, you should immediately notice some results. There then are some advanced options I would recommend when you're doing this process is to turn on a feature and then go check it on another browser where you're not logged into your WordPress site and see how it's loading and make sure it's not breaking anything. Because sometimes caching plugins in the settings can really do some damage on your site, like not let certain things load or whatever. But they're hands down the number one fastest way to start speeding up your website. Basically what it does is it takes a snapshot of that page and it saves it on your server. And then what happens is when someone goes and visits that page, it's going to load up that saved page instead of having to go to the database and go to get all of these resources and bring it and load this page. It's already got that saved. So it's going to load that saved page. Every 10 hours or so, it's going to recreate a new one. So that's what caching is. The other way to increase the speed, loading speed of your pages is to reduce the image sizes on your website. So there's some tools that you can install that will go through and update the image size and compress it down. What I actually recommend is, I use Photoshop for this, but if you're not using that, there is an online tool called tinyping.com, and it's going to allow you to upload an image and then download that image. Is going to compress the file size. So basically, you just want to make sure that you're not loading a megabyte, 5 megabyte size images. They should be, in the kilobytes. They should be well under, like 100 kilobytes, 200 kilobytes. 500 kilobytes, that's half a megabyte. That's, now you're kind of starting to get a little bit bigger. But a lot of times what we see is people loading, 5 megabyte plus images. Well, every time your page has to load and think mobile, it has to load this huge image. And if you have multiple of those, well, forget about it. Some tools to check your page loading speed is pingdom.com. That's Pingdom, pingdom.com. And then GT Metrics. And again, I'll put the links in the show notes so you can check them out there. It's going to allow you to put your domain name in there. It's going to scan your site and it's going to load it and it's going to tell you how fast it's loading. It's going to tell you the things that are loading slow and give you ideas of what you need to do to make it load faster. Okay, the next item is install an SSL certificate. This is probably the easiest win. If you don't have an SSL certificate on your site, it's the easiest thing you probably do because you probably aren't even going to do it yourself. You're going to have someone else do it. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to go to your website, put it in to the address bar, and once it loads in your browser, look at the top and see if it's loading under HTTP or HTTPS. And if it has like a little lock symbol up in by the address bar. If it has HTTPS and a lock symbol, you're good to go. If you do not, that means your site is not loading under an SSL certificate. So either you don't have an SSL certificate or you do and your site's not configured to run under the SSL certificate. If it's not, then you just need to contact your hosting provider and they should be able to take it from there. And then the last item that we'll talk about here to speed up your site is making sure that your site is mobile optimized. So a lot of times now, these days, out of the box, sites are mobile friendly, right? What that doesn't necessarily mean is that they're mobile optimized. So by default, if just because a site has what we call breakpoints and it'll start to shift down and resize based off of the screen size or the device, that doesn't necessarily mean it's optimized for mobile. My advice is, first off, very first thing is to just open up your site on your phone and see how it's loading. And is it taking a long time to load? Are things really close together? Are things overlapping? Can you read everything? Can you access everything? How is it loading on your website or on your phone? Then go to the Google mobile tester, and I'll put the link in the show notes, or you can just Google Google mobile tester, and Google has its own test where you'll put in your website and it's going to scan it and it's going to see how mobile friendly it is. That's another great avenue. I will say if you go using the Google mobile tester, you might be challenged to get, it's going to give you a score. You might be challenged to get 100%. Same thing with the page loading speed. You might be challenged to get a 100% scores on all of these, no matter how hard you try. There's a point in time where it's like, okay, you are making improvements, nothing is going to be always 100%. So that is not the goal. The goal is to make improvements. The goal is to start to move the needle. You want to get return on your investment. Time is money. Don't spend so much time on this that it's not even worth it. Okay, so some tools that you're going to want to use is Yoast SEO plugin. What this is, so this is a WordPress plugin, and what this is going to do is it's a tool that's going to allow you to optimize your website. It's not a tool that you're going to install and it's going to optimize your website. No, it's a tool that you'll install and it'll allow you and give you the tools you need to optimize it yourself. It has a wizard when you walk through. It's going to walk you through these steps and get you started. Great, but then it's going to allow you to go into each page or your blog post as you're creating them and really specify what the title tags are, the meta descriptions, and a lot of other things. It's going to give you some feedback on and give you a score. It's going to allow you to put in a focused keyword. When you put in a focused keyword, you're just telling the tool that you're trying to rank for this. It doesn't tell Google that. Google could care less what your focus keyword is in Yoast SEO. It doesn't make any difference. It's just so you can tell the tool, hey, I'm trying to rank for this keyword. So can you look at this page and tell me if there's anything you'd recommend I do? And that's what the tool is designed to do. It's just a tool. It's to allow you to optimize your pages better. Use that. Okay, the next, and this podcast might be a little bit longer because we still have the local SEO stuff to go through, but that's good. This is a big topic for people. So, okay, the next tool is SEMrush. There is a lot of free parts of this tool that you can get a lot of value out of, and it's going to let you track your progress. So when it comes to SEO, it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of time. So what you don't want to do is invest a lot of work and a lot of time and not know if it's making a difference. So how do you know that what you're doing is actually working? Well, you have to track your progress. And one of the best ways to do that is with SEMrush. And it's going to allow you to see these keywords. You can put your keywords in. It's going to tell you, hey, yes, this keyword, you're actually increased spots, or now you've lost spots, or whatever. You can track your progress. You have to track your progress or else you don't know. The next step is to create a Google Webmasters account and connect it to your website. I think they call this the Google Search Console. It used to be the Webmaster Tools. Basically, you connect your account to it, and it's going to allow you to upload a sitemap. Basically, a sitemap is just a list of pages that you're telling Google to, yes, come back and index these pages on a certain frequency. It's also going to give you some good indicators as like performance and if there's any issues with your site from Google's perspective. And that's really an important thing to know. Setting up, it's really simple to go through and set that up. You just got to go to Google Webmaster Tools and create an account, connect your website. Let's jump into the local SEO tips. So if you're a local business, this is what you want to start with. And number one, create a Google My Business account. Go to Google and just Google My Business and search for your business. So when you do a search for a local business and there is the search results and on the left side of the screen, and then on the right there's like this box that'll pull up a business and it'll have the net business name, images, the hours and location, and other information, links to their website. That is their Google My Business listing. So Google will have gone through and probably like created these listings for businesses. Your business might have a listing page, but it may not be claimed. So you need to claim it. So you either need to create one or you need to claim it. So see if you're on there. If you're on there, claim it. There's a process. There's a button that you can click on that you can claim this as your business. It's going to probably send you some information. It takes a little bit. It's a little bit of a process, but it's worth it. You got to do it. If you're not on there, then just create a Google My Business account and set up your business on there. You want to fill out every possible item you can inside of your Google My Business listing. If you can give it an answer, you want to answer it. You want to do as much as you possibly can. Make it as complete as possible. Upload images, do whatever you got to do. Videos, whatever you got. Then you need to make sure what we call the NAP is correct. So your NAP is your name, your address, and your phone. And they need to be exactly the same in Google My Business and on your website in every other place online. Your name, your address, and your phone. They need to be exactly the same. So if you are on 555 North Main Street and North is an N and street is spelled out street, then it needs to be that everywhere that you possibly can. It needs to be exactly the same because Google is going to look and connect all of the dots. And the more the things are the same, the easier it's going to have to create a connection in all of these things, connecting all of your different groups. Okay. What I would recommend is using a tool called Moz Local. It's not free. I think it's like $100 and something a year. Totally worth it if you're going down this road. What it's going to do is going to allow you to connect or basically put in your business information, and then and this is after you have your Google My Business account listing made. Do that manually. Once that's done, then go to Moz Local and create an account, and what it's going to do is it's going to connect all of your website, Facebook, Instagram, all your social profiles, all the directories, everything out there. And it's going to put out what you tell it to. So if you say, this is my name, this is my email or my phone number, my address, it's going to go out and push that out to all the directories. So you do it in one place and it pushes it out to several. It's really almost an impossible task to do it all manually because there's so many directories, and to try to get access to them all is a nightmare. So use a tool like Moz Local, and that's going to save you a ton of time. The last tip I have for you in SEO is have realistic expectations. This is probably the biggest downside of SEO is people just don't have the right expectations, right? So there is going to be some industries and some keywords that you are never going to rank first for, no matter how much you try, right? Like it just may not ever happen. And at what point is your time and the money and the effort that you put into ranking this keyword, at what point is it not the right return on investment, right? Maybe you're better off focusing on something else. So go into it knowing that you're going to have some patience. It's going to take some time. When you make these changes, it takes a month or so for some of these changes to actually take place and for that needle to start moving. It's a long game. So you have to have patience, and you want to make sure that you understand you have the right expectations. So you want to rank first on Google? Well, perfect. You can, but for what keyword phrase? Have realistic expectations, and you're going to be good to go. Okay, this was a longer episode, but we had a lot to cover. This is a big topic. If you have any questions on this stuff, obviously feel free to reach out. I'd love to chat and get you set up in the right direction. If you thought this was valuable, please subscribe, like, and share. If you think someone else out there might benefit from this, please share this with them. And I appreciate your time. We'll see you in the next episode.